Well, welcome back to another episode of Growing Up in the Wilds of Suburbia. I'm your host, Sir Chad Everett Broshears. And, well, today's episode is on what we resist persists. Now, I think it's fascinating. I've heard this term, that statement. Most of my life, and in my younger years, in much younger years, really it was just kind of like, oh, okay. And then I could see correlation in certain things, and kind of thought to myself, I guess it makes sense, but that was personal observation and not so much that of others. And when you hear people say that you are the only one that stands between you and success, I think what's fascinating about it is the older I get, the more I realize that be 100% true. But in my youth, it was always just cliche. It was cliche. It didn't have the value to me that it does now that I'm, early 40s, 42. But my recognition of where opportunities were and what my preferences were at the time and what my goals were and what I wanted to experience or accomplish, how that wasn't achieved in the time that I would have liked to have had that achieved. Because hindsight's a hell of a teacher, so it gives you the opportunity to critique yourself to insanity if you really let it. But it does give me that ability to analyze my previous self and how to change the future opportunities of who I am. Simply because I'd be a student of my own life experiences. Now, we're the only ones in our own way, and how is that linked to what we resist persists is, if you say you want something specific and say, you just want to accomplish something, we'll just go with finance because that's an easy one, or the body, but I'll go with finance instead of exercise. So with finances, if you say, hey, I want to be a millionaire, now this is kind of a dynamic, hey, I want to be a millionaire, and then it's like, okay, great, now how are you going to get there? Well, hard work and persistence. All right, wonderful. How are you going to get there? Now, understand your effort. Persistence lies in effort. Hard work, obviously, effort. What's your strategy? Well, hard work and persistence. Okay, great. Part of your strategy. But what are the actual tangible and what? I got to understand you. Part of your mechanics is going to be, I want to work hard and stay consistent with that hard work. And then you've got the hard work now. You've got the persistence. Is it cliche because you heard Steve Jobs say it? Or somebody else who's become successful? E.T. or Eric Thomas, the hip-hop preacher, or one of the other motivational speakers that are out there. Tony Robbins, just because they said it doesn't mean you actually have it. You can, but to do it for a week is not persistence. But the point is that that's part of it, right? And the dangers of cliche, something that's cliche, is that it's like buying a book. You have the information you need in order to be successful about whatever it is you bought your book for, but you don't read it, and you keep telling yourself, I've got the book, I'll get to it. Just not right now. It's procrastination, right? Point is you have things that are limiting you from moving forward, and that those things will usually they do bring something, right? Whether that brings the idea of relaxation, or if that brings the idea of venting, releasing pressure from life, distress, right? whatever it is, you'll have that thing that you really prefer to do. And then you'll say you want something specific, but the actual details about getting there are so vague, you don't really know how to get there. You know, you just want it. And that doesn't exactly help. All right, so we have that, right? You have what you're resisting is it could be the hard work to get where you want to be. Even though you say I want to work hard, stay consistent, or persistent, that doesn't mean really much whenever the work shows up. And again, I'm looking at my own life here and saying, okay, well, whenever I was younger, much younger, I'd said that I wanted something specific, and I just, I worked towards it. I gave myself something that made me feel like I was making, breaking ground on it, making traction. But the reality is that now, of course, it's developed to the point where I am now, which is nothing of regret. But had I been, with hindsight, who I am now in my 20s when I made declarations, I would have been, obviously in a different place now. So, I mean, we could all say that. But the point is that what we're resisting is going to persist. So, now, you could also say on the other side of the coin that when you say, I'm never going to date, we'll go to the dating order with this. I'm never going to date this type of person again. These type of people are bad. Modern, the colloquial place right now, the fashionable thing to do is to call something, toxic. Is we have this addiction for buzzwords and simplistic thinking, even though we think we feel complex. You find that you're in a simplistic thinking model. Usually, whenever you fall into something is a fashionable thinking, model. Because it doesn't really require that you think for yourself. It just requires that you repeat what other people say. And that's what I hear a lot of whenever you hear things about, like the patriarchy, and, you hear all these buzzwords, the toxic masculinity and this other nonsense bullshit that are divisive mechanisms, only to break down the structure under the idea of trying to create something more fair. Whoever's peddling fairness is just trying to disarm you to become a servant of their ideology and potentially even their own servant in reality. So, be careful with the ones that start bitching about something that's fair. You also know you're not dealing with an ally in your own opportunities if somebody says something isn't fair. I'm a big advocate for, but something is out of balance, and I'm not the one leading the dominance in this balance. So I'm okay with getting myself into a better, more advantageous position. So in order to do that, in order to get into a better position, I'm going to work harder. And that work harder doesn't mean always physically work harder. It means study harder. It means look for opportunities differently. It has to do with all of that, not just the, hey, I sweated. Hey, I busted my knuckle. Or hey, I sat back and griped about something for the last 48 years. I worked hard on this because I bitched about it. No, none of that stuff actually. Those are people that will fall victim to the idea that life happened to them. And then cry about it and hope that other people actually show up to take care of them. Mommy and daddy shouldn't be showing up for you, especially when you're in your 40s. Grow the fuck up. It's time to move on. So that whole thing. So as you're bitching about what you want in a relationship, what are you doing for yourself to create yourself to be the person that you yourself would want to date? And the likelihood is that you are, if this seems like I'm talking to you, then, I probably don't know you, but you're still thinking I'm talking to you. Or if I do know you and you think I'm talking to you, then it's something about your introspection, not about me. Because I'm directly honest and I tell people in my life exactly how I feel, where they're at. If they ask, or I'm not a wrecking ball, but still point of it all is, I intend to always try to make things better for everyone that's involved in my life. And I hope that that be the same for you, or that you be, a recipient of that type of desire in somebody else's life to make yours better. But not yours better at some sort of hidden cost. It's not a timeshare thing here. We're trying to just get you, with a free trip. If somebody's doing that, then they have agendas, and you got to watch out for them, because whenever time gets tough, they're likely going to try to cash in on that and hold you accountable for something that you may not have really ascribed to, or that you didn't really accept the support, but you didn't accept the debt because they never made the debt clear. Excuse me. So now, in those relationship issues, when you say, hey, I want, I don't ever want to date this type of person again, and they keep showing up. Now, it's not the same person. It's not always Fred, right? Or, whomever. We'll say Becky. Maybe a good female name for it. It's not always Fred or Becky. Yeah. It's the same that you say you don't want continues to show up. Now, those showing up, it's likely what you're resisting is your own growth and your own. Actually, I'm going to tell you that what you're resisting is your own growth and development. There's personalities have incredibly dynamic characteristics that are so incredibly complex that it takes an incredible amount of conversation in order for people to really wrap their mind around how incredibly complex our personalities are and who we are as a person. Now, so when you say, hey, I don't want ever, I don't like liars, well, how often do you mislead? Now, it may not be necessarily that you mislead, but you also share so much that the other person, or those type of people, look for you. Like narcissists seek out empaths. Now, there's a reason for that. They're the opposite end of each other's puzzle, or the same side, or it's a different side of the same coin. Now, it doesn't mean that an empath has narcissistic traits. It's the opposite side of that. They're usually very open, caring, and they feel what other people go through. And a narcissist usually has a vacancy of feeling what other people go through. It's all about them, not anyone else. And for an empath, it's usually all about the other person and not about them. Though they fit very well together, they find each other because they seem like they're the right ones. And there's that sense of satisfaction to be with somebody like that. Whichever side of that coin you're on. And they're drawn to each other. Now, it doesn't mean that empaths have something wrong with them. It's nothing like that. Empaths date a lot of different types of people, but they're the ones that seem to seek them out the most, and the ones that seem to bring the greatest degree of satisfaction in a relationship is the one that, so like for an empath, it's usually the one that they can help, whatever it is they can help with. There's a great sense of satisfaction with helping somebody develop themselves. But empaths are typically, usually, they starve for them. They starve themselves out when they give to others. And a narcissist usually starves everyone else out because they take from others in order to give to themselves. So that if you can see how they connect like that. So what you say is, if you're an empath and you keep dating people that are narcissistic, you're like, I don't ever want to date that kind of person again. You're creating this defense mechanism that makes you jaded, and potentially takes you out of, your normal character and starts developing you into this thorny thing. You want to turn yourself into a porcupine. The thing about a porcupine is it's got, those quills all over its back, but if you flip them over, they got this little soft fur, a little fur down there, and you can give a little tickle, right? What we typically do when we get hurt in relationships is we try to porcupine ourselves up, or a hedgehog is actually kind of really cute, doesn't leave its quill in you, but it's hard to get to them until you flip them over on their back, and then you got that little cute critter looking up at you with a soft little belly. So it's still there, just you have this defense mechanism that you're trying to build out, which is changing, who you are and creating a different type of satisfaction. And that type of satisfaction is that I deflected this type of person in my life, or I deflected this type of behavior at this moment, and I'm good. I'm happy that I didn't fall victim to what I previously have, and then that feels good. You get joy because you have overcome something that you had dealt with previously. But are you developing yourself in the real direction that you want to be in, or are you just developing yourself to, create more defensive values? There's nothing wrong with that. Where are you in this time? But as you continue to develop, you can start looking in at yourself about specific personality values that may draw the type of person that you always seem to have in your life. Now, if you resist to do the introspection, you resist to do the work, then what you say you don't want to experience will persist and keep showing up because you're not doing anything to develop yourself away from it. You want to develop yourself through it, and to, not just away from it, because away from it is avoidance, but through it. So let me rephrase that. You want to work your way through those challenges instead of working away from them. Because if you start running now, you're going to run forever. It's a lot like, you have this particular character flaw is a lot like you just escaped jail or prison, right? Prison, long term. So you escaped prison. Well, now you're going to have to be on the run. Now, it depends on how incredibly offensive your crimes are, which can be how frustrated you are dealing with whatever it is that you've dealt with. Whatever that person that brings to your life that just pisses you off, makes you want to move away from them. That would be the offense level of the crime. Well, you may find yourself running regularly. Again, using the prison idea, if you stole a loaf of bread, which you're not likely going to be in prison for, but if you do the most minuscule crime that ends up putting you someplace, you may, it's not likely you're going to avoid going to the post office or, going out in the public. Your crime or your offense is really relatively low, incredibly low in that scenario. Versus, if you were, just this horrible FBI top wanted person, well, then it would be every time somebody shows up in your life that even has the possibility of being in the similar traits that you've experienced before that you really don't want, you're going to be off and on the limb. You're going to be running as quick as you can to get away from that person. And you'll constantly be emotionally running away from people. Just hoping one day you may get the witness protection program where you can just relocate your mind into being somebody that you're not, just solely that you don't have to deal with whatever it is that you said you don't want to deal with ever again. I'm actually rather enjoying this idea of the looking at it from a crime and punishment concept, because it really does align, and those personality traits for the things that you resist persist really does align well. Because if you don't want to work on something, it's not going away. Even if you think that you can avoid it, it's not going away. It's going to keep showing up. Relationships, your professional life, personal life, it doesn't matter. You don't work on yourself, that's what's going to happen. You want to sit around the rest of your life and hope playing the lottery is going to end up getting you the person or the relationship that you want, or to get you the job that you want, to get you the things, the experiences in life that you want. I'm not willing to play the lottery for that. I'm willing to do the work to just go ahead and get there. So, and enjoy the process. All right, that should cover it for today. With all the rambling and all of that, I hope that you've taken something out of this video. If you're curious to why I sound a little raspy or hoarse, that is because I went out 2 nights ago, and not even a full 2, Saturday night, it's Monday morning now. I went out and did karaoke and just had an absolute blast. So, and again, it's not that I'm any good at it. I'm actually pretty bad at that as far as the singing goes, but you get better at what you practice, and I am now taking professional lessons singing, as well as looking to sign up for more things. So because why not? We should be developing, in my opinion, we should be developing ourselves in every area that we can have, that we have the capacity for development, and the timelines that we have available, so what our resources allow. So there's why my voice sounds the way it does today. And I have a singing lesson tonight, so it's going to be fun. I didn't realize it was going to be this bad after. This isn't horrible. I can still talk. It's just I don't sound that great. But anyway. All right. Well, if you like the video, please, like it, hit the little like button. If you haven't already, subscribe. It does help out. It's a small channel, and it's intended to grow to help give just insights so that people can potentially have, um, other opportunities rather than just what they currently have, which maybe makes people feel like they're alone or unable to achieve something. So share this video with the person in your life that comes to mind that may actually benefit from this, or that you want to talk to about, any of the subjects on this channel. But if this video itself, it shows up for you that there's somebody you'd like to talk to, share this video with them. I'm not saying that I'm 100% right, but this is a nice way to break the ice and for you to move that conversation forward versus just sitting with it and going, you know what, someday we'll get there. Someday we'll get there. Maybe we'll get to have this conversation. Or even worse, where you make them wrong for the fact you didn't start the conversation, is you didn't do anything to make that relationship change. You just sat on it waiting for the other person to do it. And that's the case. You're the person that life has to happen to versus the person that happens to life. So, well, with that, I am your host, Sir Chad Everett Brochures, and this is Growing Up in the Wilds of Suburbia on What You Resist Persists. So, all right, until next time, let's stay up to something. Get up to it with me. It's not always easy, but damn, is it worth it. So, talk to you soon.